All right, so we're looking at 0 and negative exponents. Here we go. So down here in this little box is where we're supposed to put our rule. Our rule is basically any number to the 0 power is 1. So if I have, and I don't know why there's a number 1 on simplify, but there is. So number 2, where it says 3 to the 0, it's 1. Where it says, go down here, 19 to the 0, it's 1. 10 to the 0, it's 1. Now, negative 4 is in parentheses to the 0. That means all of this gets changed to a 1. But those parentheses are important. Because if I take the parentheses off, the 8 is raised to the 0 power, but the negative is not. So you get negative 1. Now down here, these parentheses are grouping all of this together. It's to the 0 power. So that's 1. So basically, that should be something you're going to memorize. If it's 0 power, you get 1. We talked about that in 8th grade a little bit, why that was. It's just how the powers work out if you look at patterns.
I have a question.
Really quick.
If there's multiple zeros in a row, can you just add them up and say the number that there are, like 3?
What do you mean multiple
6?
zeros in a row?
Can I just write 6? Like there's 6 ones with 0 in a row there?
So on each one, you're going to go through and write the 1, just like we did. All right, so let's go over to negative exponents. So the rule's written in for you. If you have the negative 1 power, it flips it over. It does not change it to negative. So to the side, I'm going to give you another one. If I have x to the negative a power, it makes it 1 over x to the a. So Bennett, this is not on your set of notes. You'll need to write that part in.
Oh.
Sorry, it's not in there because it wasn't in the PowerPoint. So the negative sign means that you're going to do the reciprocal. You're going to flip it. And then do the power. So it does not make it negative. So for this first one, if I have 2 to the negative 1 power, that's 1/2. If I do 5 to the negative 1 power, that's 1/5. So both of those would be 1 over 2 to the first, 1 over 5 to the first. I left the 1 off. So when I get down to number 3, 10 to the negative 2, that means I have 1 over 10 squared. And then I go ahead and do the 10 squared. So 10 times 10 is 100. So I get 1/100th. So then over here for number 4, 5 to the negative 2 is 1 over 5 squared, which is 1/25th.
Like during worksheets and stuff, can you just skip the 1 over 5 squared and just say 1 over 25?
I would prefer that you not, because that's the work that you're showing me. It just takes a split second to write. Okay, so on number 5, this is going to be 1 over 2 to the third. So I have to think 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. A lot of times people will multiply those and say it's 6 and just write down 1/6. If you want to be able to get any partial credit, you have to have the work there. Okay, so on number 6, I have 7 to the negative 2. You want to try it? What do you think?
7 times 7, that's 49.
So it would be 1 over 49, because this is 1 over 7 squared. Okay, so that's the basics for those. And then we're going to look at what happens when we have some fractions here in a second. So we're going to do one more box. So what would I do with number 1? What's my work that I'm going to write down?
1 over 2 to the 4th.
2 to the 4th. Then let's figure out what that is. So 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Good. So don't write down 1/8. Don't multiply those together. Remember that you do have to do that repeated multiplication. Okay, I feel like we did number 5 already. We have. It's 1/25th. So since I did that one on the last slide, I'm just going to bypass that. Oh, you know what? I have that on here for a reason. Okay, back up. I just want to have 2 and 3 next to each other. So this is 1 over 5 squared, which is 1/25th. While this one is 1 over 2 to the 5th, And let's see, 2 to the 4th was 16, so if I take 16 times another 2, I get 32. So I think the reason I have these next to each other is just to show you they don't give you the same number, 5 squared and 2 to the 5th, which I think you guys are smart enough to figure out. All right, so now we're going to look at what if you have a base that is a fraction. So this -1 basically flips this over and makes it 4 over 1.
Why?
Which is just 4, because it's reciprocal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so for this one, it's going to be reciprocal, so 3 over 1, and then I'm going to square it. So basically, this is 3 squared. 3 times 3
9
is 9. Okay, so what would we get for number 6?
5, 4.
5 over 4.
5 over 4.
1.
And then for number 7, we would flip it, and then you change the power to positive. So basically, you take care of that negative by flipping it, then you're going to square it. So just to remind you how you multiply fractions, it'd just be 3 halves times 3 halves. Multiply the top, multiply the bottom, and you're going to get 9 fourths. I don't need you to change that to a mixed number. I really don't want the decimal.
Wait.
Just square the top and square the bottom.
But you just change it to like
To like a fraction.
3,
How could you change it to 3?
or like can you change it back for 3 seconds?
Could you do 2
No,
over
because
1/4?
now this is 9 fourths. You
Could
can't
you
change
do
it.
2 over 1/4?